Welcome to the Connect Like Minds podcast. I'm the host, Sharryse. I interview people making a difference in their communities and in their creative spaces. Today's special guest is a business advisor, entrepreneur, and the CEO and founder of Rios Business Advisors. Welcome to the Connect Like Minds podcast, Jimmy Rios.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
And I'm excited to have you on today. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
We're going to jump right in. So, can you tell everyone where you're from?
Yeah, definitely. I live in Arizona, a little town outside of Phoenix called Maricopa in Pinal County. But I was born in Queens, New York, from parents that emigrated from Medellin, Colombia. So I'm first generation Colombian American. You know, part of our growing up was having time in Colombia, and we moved to Arizona when I was really young, probably around 3. So we still have family in New York, but Arizona's kind of been where we grew up, and Medellin, we still have our house there, and it's just the other side of what we grew up with. So it's like I consider myself Colombian American or American Colombian, whatever, however you want to see it. But I derive on both the cultures and love everything about both. So it's fun.
Did you and your family go back to Colombia while you were growing up, or you guys haven't been?
Mhm. No, we try to make it kind of just. My parents were really good about wanting to teach us the culture and the language, and so Spanish was our first language, and then we would go to Colombia in the summer. So summers in Arizona are extremely hot, right?
Yeah.
And that's coincides with the time that we're out when we were off of school, right? So our parents would take us to Medellin, which is what they call the city of eternal spring. So it's springtime all the time in Medellin. It's beautiful, and so we would spend the summers there and then come back for school. We did that all through our youth, and then through in high school we kind of tapered off because of sports and a lot of the activities that we had. But they always kept our house over there, so that's still where we go. My mom lives there now full time, and that's where we go on vacation when we can. I just took my kids in June for the first. Well, my daughter's second time. My twin boys got to see her for the first time, so it was awesome.
That's awesome. Would you say
Yeah,
that's a sign of generational wealth, like passed down from your parents to still keep their home back in their country and you guys be able to utilize it now?
yeah, that was a very big part. I think in everything. My dad was the same age as me when we had kids, right? So I follow a trajectory that's very parallel to my dad, right? Because when I think of my age now, I'm 49, and I see my twins and my daughter at 17 and 19, that's basically the age that I was parallel to my dad. So I see what he did in those years, right, as we were growing up. And I say, and then I check myself. I'm like, well, where am I at in comparison, right?
Yeah.
What could I be doing better? And so I used him and his as a barometer to where I need to be and where I could improve, right? We always want to be better or do better for our kids than our parents did, and there was a lot of good things that came from my parents' side, a lot of things they didn't know, right? Being first generation immigrants, and a lot of things that I didn't know growing up and that I didn't ask. But now that as a parent, I can take that and use it, take the negatives and turn them into positives. And hopefully my kids now with social media, seeing my videos and all the things I'm out there doing, that they're taking that in,
Yeah,
and taking that to the next level.
I agree.
But real estate for us has always been ingrained. It's always been part of what we do, right, family wise, and I kept that going too. So we have our own real estate team, the Rios real estate team, and we really are. We just set up when I went in June to Medellin. I set up Rios Funding Group SAS. So we have boots on the ground there as a company to help Americans that are living in Medellin to help them with funding and financing real estate. Right. So we're thinking in those same parameters on how we can kind of bridge the gap
Hmm.
between the two sides and really make it. My brother um, built a platform on Facebook called Gringo Paisa.
Hmm.
Gringo meaning American, Paisa meaning the Colombian, from colloquial term for an American living or a Colombian living in the city of Medellin is a Paisa. So he did Gringo Paisa, and he's got over 26,000 members in part of that Facebook group. So it's yeah, we're growing it.
Well, before we go move further into all the great things that you are doing, let's still go back a little ways, back to when you were a kid, because you said you're a
Yeah.
first generation of a lot of things, because of your parents were immigrants. Can you
Right.
tell us, looking back over your childhood, what's a memory that always replays?
Well, I think as a child, you know, I was very my brother and I were both very into sports, and you know, we loved everything that was about travel, right? So we got to enjoy being able to do those things as kids, because my dad, he worked really hard to provide, and my mom, and they wanted the best for us, so they instilled the sports in us at a young age. I think we were 5 or 6 when we started playing soccer,
Oh.
um, and we were into fitness and working out and all those things, and then we would go to Colombia in the summers and play on teams there, and just get very into the sport, right?
Mhm.
So it developed a lot of discipline. It developed things that we didn't think we would use later on until here we are. And I can go back and I can see the correlation and how important that was. So, I mean, I appreciate, you know, parents that, go out of their way to instill that in their kids and being able to partake in any type of activities that is outside, I guess, of what we see now with video. Well, we had video games back in our day too, but getting them back out, doing things, and
Right.
building on those building blocks that those types of things will do for you. And for me, looking back, that was very formidable. That shaped a lot of who I am today. And I use it. I use it a lot.
What did education mean to you and your family, especially when you got into high school?
Well, I mean, education was seen as the gateway to something better. Even though we always didn't have all the means, and there was always this expectation, especially from my mother, because she was an educator, she was a teacher, and you know, yeah. So for her, it was very important that we take, you know, schooling for school is not just about getting a grade, right? A good grade. I mean, yes, that's part of it, but really, like what she said was, it was the ability to start and finish something, right? And build on that, right? The expectations were that if you committed to doing something, you were going to get it done, but not just, you know, check mark it, but like really try to do your best at what that entailed. And if you were deficient in that arena for whatever reason, that we were going to find a solution. And that became a very integral part in my business acumen later on as well. So when we talk about these things, my kids are perfect examples of what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
They get excellent grades. My daughter got scholarships to get into doing psychology and doing what she's doing, but she never stopped working in her trade. My boys don't stop working. When they're deficient in something, they're 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 the first to ask for help and find ways to get better. And when I look at the report cards and see what happened here,
Mhm.
and they're like, well, this and this and that happened, I'm like, all right, look, let's tweak this, right?
Yeah.
Room for improvement, right? Is it, what can you control? Is it your effort, right? Did you put it all out there? Because I see you got an 88. Like, why didn't you get a 90, right? You were
Yeah.
so close. What could it have been, right? And again, I don't, it's not about imploring just, oh, you have to have a 4.0 or this or that. I'm like, I just want them to go that extra inch, that extra mile, because I know how easy it is to let your foot off the gas, right? I wasn't an A+ student,
Hmm.
but I was very diligent in getting things done and trying to achieve different goals,
Hmm.
right? And that's why I pressure them to challenge themselves to do better because I know they can. The potential's there, you know.
And would you say that looking back at how they've applied themselves, would you say that they're also using you as a benchmark to do better in life,
Totally.
especially within their careers and things like that?
You know, we have a funny saying here in the family. We call it Jimmyisms. Jimmy being my name. We say, and it's these little things that I say, and I put them up on boards, and I'll be like, Jimmyism number 141. Like, and what happens with that is that these little things that I say,
Mhm.
I take from books, I take from others that inspired me, and these little quotes, but it's meant to get them to think. What does that really mean? What is he talking about? When I'm doing my shorts and reels and things, and they're listening, these Jimmyisms come out. They, and so they're catching on to these things, and they're like, okay, he talked about this, and like they're starting to connect the dots
Yeah.
as they mature, and they're going up, and I think the boys are juniors, and my daughter's going to graduate in December of next year from college. So they're getting up there at that stage where they're starting to discern better.
Hmm.
They're starting to see things and connect the dots with regards to what they want to do. And they look at the skill sets that I've developed over the years, and they can start kind of seeing what areas that they have
Hmm.
from their own DNA and their own personalities to work with that and what they're deficient on, right? We were just talking about this yesterday where my other boy, Carlo, he's more the introvert,
Hmm.
right? He's not as, going out and talking to people. He's more introverted, but he's very confident. And I was telling my other boy, Nico, that, there's a difference between being confident and having an ego, right? Egotistical. And I was trying to tell Nico, I said, so you got to be very vigilant with Carlo because if he's already introverted, that can be mistaken as being stuck up or egotistical,
Right.
where maybe he's just confident, but he's not confident enough to feel like he needs to come out and talk to that person. And so he's trying to find himself where Nico is very extroverted.
Hmm.
He goes to like different groups and talks to people, and he has a different set of friends. And so there's different things that each one
Yeah.
has positive, but Nico is more, he's not, he can be confident. I don't think he does it. I think he's very extroverted and he's not shy. But the other one, he's just, he, he spews that aura of confidence where Nico might not, right? And so for Nico, he has to work at that, right? So that's a little bit of both myself right there because I am extroverted,
Hmm.
yes. I've learned to be confident, right, over time, right? Because I was egotistical in my early 20s and that didn't help me,
Oh
right?
man,
I
you mind
lost a lot.
sharing some of
I,
those experiences that you had?
totally, totally. No, I mean, listen, so I'm 49,
Hmm.
right? I say that in my 20s and inside of my 30s was an area of time where I grew fast. And I grew so fast money wise and otherwise that I felt like I deserved it. Like here I was, like I almost felt
You're entitled to it.
like entitled. That was the word. Yep. And then when the crash happened
Hmm.
in 2008, it 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 brought me down like so low, not to the ground. I'm talking underground,
Oh
right? It
my
makes you like
God.
to the to the point where I lost my marriage. My kids had just been born, my twins. I ended up becoming an alcoholic,
Mhm.
and I lost all my licenses because of drinking, and then I ended up going to prison for 4 months
Mhm.
because of a DUI. So like you talk about going under, I lost all my credit over 30. negative accounts on my credit. And it was such a devastating blow to my ego because all of a sudden I'm homeless. I'm like this person that wasn't, and I'm having to look in the mirror and I'm like, what just happened? How did I lose everything? And that's where the humbling experience started, right? The rebuilding had to change everything. Everything had to like change. So it was like a whole different persona. It was like my morals, my values, everything had to change. People, places, things, everything I knew up to that point, right?
Yeah.
So as I started in the rebuild process, I still had my business,
Mhm.
but I had to go back to work, in the corporate sector, and I had to humble myself to do whatever, right? Because at that time, I couldn't get jobs back in mortgages or, underwriting, or
Mhm.
I had lost all my licenses. So I started selling cars at used car dealerships and like taking the most humbling experiences. I had 26 jobs
Mhm.
over 5 years.
Wow.
And but through that experience, I wrote a book. I started Next Level Credit, which was our credit repair company. I started working on getting all my licenses back, and it took me 10 years of appeals and trying to get through because Department of Insurance, Department of Real Estate, they didn't want to see a felon with a DUI for moral turpitude, and what that meant. So I had to like get a lot of people in my corner to vouch for who I was as a person, for my character. So character building, right? And that only comes with trust over time. That's not an overnight, like, here, let me pay somebody to say something nice. No, it doesn't work that way. So I even had my ex wife, the mother of my kids, come and vouch for me on how I changed, which was a huge plus because, any divorce can be pretty bitter.
Right.
And, in our case, it was the alcoholism that really took over. And my ex wife, in protecting our children, was very good at making sure that they didn't lose the sight of who their father was. So they never took a negative impression. They never saw that side of me
She's a good
because they were
woman.
so little. It was, and back then, it was like, I didn't know that was the reason. I thought she just didn't want me to see my kids, right? It was just a different perspective.
Mhm.
Now, I applaud her because what she did was just strengthen that vision of what those kids thought of their dad,
Mhm.
but also her needing her strength to be able to overcome a lot of those challenges that came from being, a mother with 3 kids, having her mom having to move in with her, all these, variables that were outside of her control. She couldn't control what I was doing,
Right.
you know? So that was very tough.
And it goes back to what you were saying earlier. You can only control what you can control. You can't control everything else around you. So, respect. That's
Exactly. And
amazing.
totally.
What was your
Yep.
village like during that time of turning things around? Like, did you go to some substance use clinic or
Yeah.
something or anything like that?
So yeah, no, so I always talk about my triad, which is mind, body, and spirit, right? And so those three as a triangle in my logo for eye level to high level, I put an eye and a triangle
Mhm.
as the vision, right? You have to have this vision of where you want to go. You have to use those three, mind, body, and spirit, to really become inner workings of everything that you're doing, right? It doesn't work one or the other. It's all three in unison. You have to work all three. For me, it was having to learn what that really meant, right? Mind, body, and spirit. Because I might have been very good in one area, right? Reading 70 books when I was in prison for 4 months. That's, the mind going into action, right? Um, but body, right? Working out, eating right, taking care of yourself. That was another part, right? It's hard to recover from an injury, right? Whether it's self-absorbed like I had with alcoholism, or somebody that goes through an accident, right? And they go through recovery, they have to take care of their body, right? They got to eat properly, get the sleep, all those things. But the spiritual side, I was very deficient in, right? Like I said before, I was egotistical and very forthright, thinking it was all deserved,
Hmm.
not giving nothing back to my God for giving me the talents, the tools, all the people, all these blessings, and taking it for granted. So then going back and coming back and almost going like to the other extreme, because I had missionaries that came to my home and helped me see the light of my ways. I was very against anybody trying to help me until I wasn't.
Hmm.
And then they were non-judgmental. They were loving. They were helpful. All those beautiful attributes. And I was like gravitated to that. Not so much doctrine per se, because I'm not the best at quoting scripture and I'm still working on that side of it, but becoming spiritually aligned
Yeah.
with a higher power that can help me, that I could use my talents to help others. That was the essence of Christ in what we talk about love,
Yeah.
right? And helping others, right? Is giving back unselfishly, getting out of yourself to help somebody else. And that became the literally everything that I've done up to this point with my business and my businesses was because of that, of how I modeled my recovery. And if I said, well, if I could do it from this point in perspective, what keeps anybody else from being able to do it? If I had to go through the depths of hell,
Right.
credit wise, personal wise, spiritually, physically, mentally, because it plays all kinds of tricks with your mind. If you can overcome those objections over time and be able to stand up and raise yourself, then why not? Why can't somebody else do it?
Right.
Because they need guidance, because they need help, because people are scared to ask for help, right? And so we need to avail ourselves to want the help and at the same time be the ones helping others and helping them and empathize with their situation, not judge, right? You can't judge a book by its cover. Nobody knows what somebody else is going through, but if you can empathize with the situation, right? Like these missionaries, they were 18, 19 years old. They never understood what being an alcoholic, having come out of prison is.
Right.
But, but they gave me some attributes that I didn't have at the time, which was love, caring, right? Non-judgment,
Hmm.
right? And those things I needed at that time. I needed for this kid to tell me how God loves me and why, and give me something that I didn't have to hold on to. And that was the turning point in my life. So I joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day
Hmm.
Saints, got baptized, and um, and really just started helping people in the community in my church, and just, do you need anything? Can I help you with? And like that, emulating what they were doing
Hmm.
in my own way, right? And again, I can't quote scripture yet. I mean, some I can,
Yeah.
but it's not who I am. I'm still very true to who I am, but I use the Bible and the Book of Mormon as tools to help me learn how I can use those stories and what those guys did, and prophets and other overseers, on how they handled adversity, and how I can use God's direction to guide me into better choices and better guidance to others. So Rios Business Advisors was born from that.
Awesome. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's going to be a great transition soon. So, this next segment is called Digging Deeper. And during this segment, I'll ask you thought provoking questions about your career and your personal life. So, tell us
Okay.
how you came up with your business. And before we even move forward, I want to just say, like, I know you said earlier, like, oh, I was such an egotistical person, in my 20s and 30s, but you weren't as egotistical at the point where those missionaries came and you still accepted them talking to you about, love and how God loves you. So I wouldn't say you were that
Yeah.
bad.
Well, I think when you've been searching for something, you have a void, and all of a sudden you feel like, 'cause I used to run from these guys, from any mission, from any church that came to the house. I was like I would hide and not answer the door. Like, no, I'm good. I don't need anybody's help, right? And one day I just something wrong in me? Like, sure, come on in, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's just talk, right? Maybe I'll learn something. Maybe I'll learn something. That was the turning point, because when you say I'm willing to learn, you're opening yourself up. You're open minded now,
Yeah.
and so that's where the change for me started. Was just in saying, well, I have nothing to lose. I already lost everything. Maybe there might be something there that I can gain.
And you did. The love of God.
Yeah, the biggest gift.
Yes. How did your business come about?
Well, in the late '90s. So I don't know how old you are, but I'm willing to say that I'm probably a little bit older than you.
Just a little bit. I
Okay.
was born in 92.
Yeah. Okay. So you're like my stepdaughter's age.
Yeah.
My stepdaughter was born in '93.
Okay.
Okay. So think another like '97, 2000. Yeah. So in '97. So you're 5 years old when I was venturing into my world of business, and I started working with a company called Commercial Credit, which was a consumer finance company. I was going to ASU, Arizona State University, trying to finish my coursework and getting my degree. But I wasn't. I was trying to get a degree in Spanish, like to be a teacher, to be a professor,
Okay, like your
like
mom.
my mother. Yeah, my mother was a professor, and she studied English, and she was just all around liberal arts, did a lot of different things. But for me, I was running out of options because in my 20s, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Right, I was still kind of like lost in direction, and I saw an ad that said branch manager trainee, and I had always visualized at some point in my life wanting to become some type of executive, but I didn't know how that was going to be.
Hmm.
The only reason I chose Spanish was because I was so lost in knowing where to go
Hmm.
that I chose the easiest thing that came to me, which was my language. Right? And I
Yeah.
said, if I can get a degree in Spanish and become a teacher, maybe that'll open up the doors to go to Colombia or do international
Hmm.
business in some form or way. Right? So that's how I started thinking. So when the branch manager trainee position opened, I thought, well, maybe this will be a good way for me to learn some of the finance side of the business, right? And learn a little bit about that, not knowing that that was ultimately going to take me in the trajectory where I'm at now, right? And so I started really in the trenches, learning all facets of that business, and rose through the ranks rather quickly. I became a branch manager by 2001, right? So a few years in that role, and I think um, by the time I was like in my mid 20s now, I was ready to graduate, and I
Yeah.
was ready to to get that position. But then something happened in that time frame where I started seeing some things I didn't like
Hmm.
in the world of corporate, and I wanted to make changes, but I couldn't. And so the only way I could is if I started my own business, right? So um, in that mindset, I said, well, I, um, I got into an argument with my district manager about some time off that I needed and wanted
Hmm.
to go on my travel, right? And he wouldn't give it to me because even though he had already given me the approval, he took it back. And he said, I need you to stay because you guys are over your collection rates and you need to be under X. And I said, but you had already given me the time. I had already bought the tickets. And so losing control, losing power, um, when you work for someone in that realm, I didn't like that feeling. And so it was against probably all advisement from my parents and everybody to not leave that job because I was doing so well.
Hmm.
Um, but at the time, in the late '90s, I started reading Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it
Okay.
became
Yeah, I
very
know about
influential
that.
in my thought
Hmm.
processes. And I said, well, I'm in the first quadrant. I'm gonna get into the second quadrant and become self-employed, and then I'm gonna figure out how to build a system. Right.
Yeah.
So at a very young age, in that, I followed my path of mind of thinking like Kiyosaki and said, well, if you want control, if you want to have your own destiny, then you're going to have to do it because nobody's going to do it for
Look
you.
at that
Right.
Jimmyism
So,
start staring right
yes,
there.
that's it. That's it. It started, you know?
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
Can you tell us how you even came up with the name of Rios Business Advisors? Why did you choose to name it after
Well,
yourself?
yeah. So RBA, Rios Business Advisors, actually is rather young, right? Because we really started in 2001 time frame
Hmm.
as as a property management company first with my parents' initials, J, Jimmy, L, Lucy, and Alberto, JLA Property Management, right?
Hmm.
But then because 95% of my clients were Latino, Hispanics, speaking the language, Spanish, I I really felt compelled to build, and I had to help them like I do with my parents with all their taxes, insurance, mortgages, like all the different financial services, like worlds. I had to cross over with these people, right? So I did that with my parents. I was their power of attorney. I was helping them always with like a pseudo advisor for them, right? And then I decided to change the name from JLA Property Management to Rios Financial Group, and Rios Financial Group became the pillar of what eventually became Next Level Credit. On the credit arena, Rios Business Funding. We use Rios Financial Group for wealth management and insurance. We use Rios Business Advisory as our consulting firm
Hmm.
with professionals that could guide in different areas. And we built Living Easy LLC, which was my wife's S corporation.
Hmm.
And we built the Rios real estate team inside of commercial and real estate. And then pretty soon we'll have Rios Mortgage. We're licensed in that arena, and we're working on getting our TPO to get that off the ground. So it's you can see that around the solar system, right? There's all the planets and all the other stars, and so we built the system like a solar system, right?
Hmm.
With all these little verticals that because when you have somebody that comes to you as a consultant, they have a problem, it goes deeper than just that problem. When you start really digging into that person's life, you become an advisor in more ways than one. It's not just plugging in a one fit solution because it's more than that. We build a blueprint, so to speak. No different than if you were going to build a house.
Hmm.
You don't just go to Home Depot and just buy a bunch of stuff and
Right.
try to build a house. You have to have a guide and a blueprint to help you get to that vision. And one of my groups is called Vision to Victory because you have to have vision to be able to get to whatever you're trying to do, but you need a guide, a mentor, and a blueprint. So we thought that way. We said, before I was insular and saying, okay, I'm going to get you a loan because you came to me saying you wanted to buy a house.
Hmm.
So I would get you a loan, but that was it, right? Then what if in getting you a house, right, you had a business and you needed money for your business because you need money to pay for your house? Well, how are you going to build your business if you don't know because you're a mechanic? You know how to fix cars, but you don't know how to build a business.
Right.
So you come to Jimmy and say, I need help, right? And then you start building your business and you start making really good money, but the IRS is taking 30% of your money,
Yeah.
right? So we start building a plan for tax advisory to help you offset or minimize. And now we need to protect your assets. So we go to our insurance side, we get you, an estate plan, a will, a trust, and we start helping you with life insurance, right? So that you can start utilizing these as tools to be able to leverage yourself and protect yourself for future, for your legacy, right? We call it legacy building, right? Because you need to have a downline, which is your kids and their kids'
Right.
kids. And how do we protect that? So you see where I'm going with
Yeah,
this?
you're a one-stop
It went
shop.
from one thing. It went from one solution to really understanding that an individual is more than one thing. And then when we start being empathetic to that, knowing how to direct traffic, I can't do it all. I had to bring a team, no different than in sports,
Yeah.
right? The quarterback is only so good as all his receivers, his running, his defense, right? The coach, right? The trainers.
Yeah.
So why are we any different in business if we need a team? How do we go and procure those people around us to help us? It doesn't always mean I have to go and hire 100 people, but we can work through fractionals, right?
Yeah.
A fractional CFO, maybe a contractor, right? You start divvying up these things that you need to get done so it's attainable, and then it's doable, and then you start seeing the results. That's a great
Thank you.
question because the majority of the people that we talk to um, are, on the W-2, working 9 to 5, doing something, but they really have a passion for something else. And they want to bridge over to that other side of entrepreneurship, but they don't know how. And they're scared and they have all these things that are happening. Luckily, there's a lot more information out now to be able to start, but that's good to a point.
Walk us through what it would be like if someone who wanted to start a business came to you, but they didn't actually have the business plan set out, but they still have the
Yeah,
vision. Can you break it
yeah,
down to us, Barney
yeah.
style?
No, yeah, definitely. So the first thing I'm going to do is I need to understand some of the weak points and strong points in what you have to give. Understanding where you're deficient in is going to help me put together a blueprint to walk you through the different things. Most people that are starting their own business are going to come from a point of their own understanding and say, well, I need this, this, and that. They're telling me what they need
Hmm.
without them even knowing that they need that, right? So it's very easy to jump the gun as an entrepreneur and say, well, I need $50,000 because I need to go buy this and start doing this. And I'm like, whoa, slow down. You don't, you might not need all that, or you might need even more, but we don't know that yet. Let me break it down. So I take them back down to understanding where they're at with their credit, where they're at with, their assets and liabilities. I really need them to understand basic accounting principles like not commingling their funds. Do they have an LLC? If they don't, why not? Maybe we need to set these things up first. So because you want to start your business, but you don't have an entity, so there's different reasons why, right? Well, I just don't have the money. Well, then we need to slow down first. Slow down. Let's go slow to go fast. Because just because you want to come out of the gate, you can still work your 9 to 5 and gradually get into what you're wanting to do, right? But why not take the time through proper guidance to do it right? Because if you don't do it right, the mistakes are going to cost you a lot more down the line. So I'd rather have you understand kind of that process first, and it's going to pay its dividends as we develop your plan,
Yeah.
right? And most, even seasoned businesses, don't even have a business plan of some sort. They don't know their competitors. They don't know how to do their marketing.
Well,
Well,
how are you supposed to bring in the money if they don't want to talk about their finances?
well, and that's when we become very real, real fast, right? Jimmyism, right? Uh, because when I'm very real with them and forthright, they they're gonna understand that I want the best for them and I want them to get the monies that they need. But it doesn't take long for us to do many years of to fix many years of problems. But if you don't do anything, you're gonna continue with many years of problems. It's just it's just covered up,
Mhm.
right? So we need to expose it, address it, and fight it, right from the get go. Because I know from experience that by doing this, it's going to clear up all that mess and it's going to lay down the pathway for your success. So for me to help them, they have to accept that. They have to accept the challenge and they have to be willing to let me help them. If not, it's no different than going to a doctor and say you have cancer and they put a plan of action for you and you being in denial
Yeah.
about all the work that's needed to fight it, right?
Mhm.
Just because you have cancer doesn't mean you're gonna die, right? And there's a lot of cancer survivors, right? It's a devastating illness, but it causes you to think like in the solution, not in the problem, because that's where I come from. As I say, look, we need to work in the solution, and part of the solution is this, this, and this. When we start eating it that way, it's a lot easier to absorb than just saying, oh, I have a 470 credit score. Nobody's going to look at me. I have a judgment. I have a repo. I have this and that. And they start telling me all these negatives. I'm like, so what does that mean? Because I know that I can fix it because I've been through it,
Yeah.
right? I've been through bankruptcy. I've been through all those negatives. I've had homes taken away, cars taken away, and I can do it, right? So you're talking to somebody who's done it and can do it, has done it for other people. So you're just another case study. Let's figure it out, right? So that's how we do it. And it doesn't take long. The ones that have said, I need some time to think about it. Okay, good. Take your time. And most, I can't think, it's probably 10 out of 10 where they will come back. They don't come back right away, but they will come back. At some point, they cross the bridge back to me and say, Jimmy, I remember we talked 6 months ago or a year ago or 5 years ago. I need your help. Okay, right? Let's go. I don't judge you. When it's your time, it's your time. You know?
Yeah. One thing that came to mind was when you were talking about like business credit and things like that. How do you start someone off with business credit and get them financing if they have
Yeah.
these things going on? Like, do you get them past
Yeah.
that and then you figure that out?
Well, I mean, there's different ways. Business is its own entity, right? It's got its own EIN number and can stand on its own 2 feet. Many times it wants to see the personal side mirror, right? And if it's bad, it makes it harder. But it doesn't make it impossible, right? We can start with 2 or 3 what we call net 30 accounts that basically is like accounts that you can purchase things and pay it back inside of 30 days. It's not your prototypical credit card where you have, you know, only pay the minimum and you have extended credit. It's meant to showcase what you can do in paying your debt to that company in a short period of time, right? So you build on these net 30 accounts that have to be paid back in full within 30 days, right? Like, and so when you start doing it that way, you start building business credit, and business credit is scored differently than personal credit, right? So we guide you in getting a Dun and Bradstreet number, right, and start developing a business credit profile so that your business as XYZ Corp has, you know, reported some accounts that are net 30s, net 60s, net 90s. These are longer frameworks that allow you to pay back that debt, right? So office supply stores, places like Granger. I have a book that I wrote on Amazon called Decoding the Mystery of Business Credit. And inside of that book, we delineate all the different vendor accounts that can be had,
Mm-hmm.
right? We also start working with your credit through our credit repair side. So the negatives go away, we add positives. So concurrently, we can start then getting personal guarantee cards that we're going to use our credit with to be able to give us business credit, right? We'll use companies like Credit Strong that have business accounts that you can set up kind of like a savings account where you pay like $25 a month into, and it accrues like a savings. But they extend you a line of credit for $1,000 and you on paper. So on paper, it's showing that you have $1,000 line of credit. Really, it's a savings account that you're paying into, so that when you get to $1,000, that basically it'll turn or convert into a business credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But by you doing these things, you're laying down the framework of a trajectory of payments that shows history, credit history, which is going to now show underwriters that you've taken the steps to build your credit.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Now, I
Yeah,
saw on your website that, you did talk about some of your services and everything. Do you mind talking about what a virtual business card is and why someone would need
sure.
it?
So it's funny because I just put a video out yesterday. You see my little bracelet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they look
There.
pretty cool.
Well, so check this out. So somebody that let's say you're at a networking event, right?
Mm-hmm.
And um, somebody comes up and says, you want to give them a business. Traditionally, you would give them your card.
Mm-hmm.
What if you could just literally just tap your phone like
Wow.
that, and then when you I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but I'll put it up here.
Yeah,
You
yeah, I
see
see
how
it.
you
I
see
see it. I
that?
see it.
So what'll happen is then let me see if I can put it here.
Hello there. Thank you for visiting Jimmy's mobile business card. Feel free to browse around. He would love to connect with you, so make sure to tap on the exchange info button so you can quickly exchange contact details and connect with him. Oh, by the way, if you've worked with Jimmy before and had a great experience and would like to refer a friend to him, simply tap on the refer a friend button and put in your friend's details. You can also leave him a raving review by tapping on the leave a review tab below. He will greatly appreciate it and you will definitely make his day. You can also quickly connect with him directly by tapping on either the call, text, or email button anytime. Thanks again for stopping by.
So what happens is
Wow.
that
That's awesome.
so then we guide them to put it on their phone as a tile, right, and
Mm-hmm.
save it. So when you're on your phone, you'll be able to see the person's face on their phone as a tile, right? So this way, if you can see on there, you could see the little face,
Yeah.
right, of the person, and that they'll never forget your number or how to access that, so that they just tap on it and it's got your website, your email, your reviews, everything. You can customize it with your colors, your logo, um, and it's just another way that technology now is taking it to another level. Where yeah, I still have business cards, right? I
Yeah.
still have the, the traditional, but what an impression does it make when I have somebody take out their phone and tap it on my bracelet or a ring, because we can put rings on it, or and say, here, tap my ring, and they tap it, and boom, there you are on their phone,
That's an
right?
experience too, like very memorable.
It opens up conversation,
Yeah.
right? It's like, wait, that's different, right?
Marketing.
There's other companies out there that are emulating, this movement, right? But and that's fine because I love competition. I think we get better with competition. But when you go to rioscard.com, that's what you're going to find. You're going to see all the different things on how you can get it for yourself. And it's not expensive. It's something that you're going to be able to keep track of all your people that have enrolled and came into your circle,
Yeah.
your sphere. And it puts you ahead of the curve with anybody because you're on their phone. They're not going to forget your face. Right? They'll lose your card. I've lost many cards,
Yeah.
but they won't forget you. So it's taken technology to another level. And when I started doing this, it was back in 2016
Mhm.
when I was selling cars, and people would come on the lot, and they would and they nobody wants to be a used car salesman. Nobody wants that used car salesman to come and bother them, right? So what did I do? I was like, I would come up, I would introduce myself. I said, listen, I don't want to bother you. I know you're here to look at cars, but look, tap here, and this is my information. As you go through your cars, or when you go home, you're gonna see all my inventory. And as you tap it, we're gonna be able to send that car to you, so that whatever car you want to see, we'll bring it to you. Right now, I developed that concept because nobody would do that before. But
Yeah.
I took it upon myself to say, well, why don't I drive this car to them if they were interested? It's not me forcing anything on them. It's on their time, right? So by me being the source, whenever they would tap on a vehicle, it would alert me of what car they were looking at, and then I would send them information on that car. So then I would put on the bottom, I'd say, let me know when you want to see it, I'll bring it to you, right? So going above and beyond value, right? In the sense that when you're shopping for a car, nobody wants to be like hounded by salespeople.
Right.
It's the worst experience.
It's a
But if you have a
turn-off.
good experience, you're going to talk to others about that experience. From me doing that, I became salesman of the month for 3 months in a row doing that. And it was just thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
It was really from that data, gathering that data inside of the dealership. It was one of those buy here, pay here dealerships. So most people have bad credit. So I started developing my credit repair company from that database because most people had bad credit. So if I could come back, say, hey, you bought a car from me, if I'm able to help you fix your credit in the next 3 to 6 months and get you into a better loan, would you be open to it? And they're like, sure. So their mind was thinking, yeah, I'm tired of paying every 2 weeks, $400 or $500.
Yeah.
What if I could just have one payment for $250 or $300? Well, what if, right?
Right.
And fix your credit, right? So it's like a 2 for 1.
Yeah.
Right? So my mind was always thinking of value added things I could bring to the table to help people, and that's how you take things from a negative to a positive.
And earlier, you just showed the bracelet.
Bracelet.
How is AI impacting your industry right now?
AI is the brainchild of our level to high level program. All right, that it has influenced us so much that we can take algorithmic trading platforms worldwide and 10x people's money, right? To be able to take that money and pay off debt and put them in a better position to elevate, get rid of the burden of debt while elevating their business, all because of how we structured our eye level to high level program. We then use AI to synthesize my voice and bring out this message to hundreds of people so that they want to talk to Jimmy, they're talking to me, and it's synthesized. So it's my voice. They think they're talking to me, and it's switching as they're asking questions, and it's adapting to what they're asking based on everything that I've taught it through my podcast, my videos, the Q&As, and all I'm doing is saying, let's do a one-on-one, right? So it's setting up appointments with my sellers, right, to be able to answer the questions more at depth. But they saw my picture, they saw my voice, and they can attune to it. So if I'm the one answering that phone, even though it's not me, they don't know that, right? But the questions are being answered, right?
Yeah.
And then the natural thing is, well, how do I get started? Or what do I got to do, right? So then we lead them into being able to go into our process. So everything we've done systematically to use AI as an ally,
As a tool.
right?
Yeah.
To help us get smarter, not harder. Right?
I like that. That's awesome. And speaking of eye level to high level, tell us about your podcast.
Yes. Now that we host probably 4 to 6 programs a month with entrepreneurs that want to tell their story, right? Not only the ones that went through our program and given their testimony of success and how it works working with the Rios Business Advisors and our high level program, but the podcast was built around bringing those stories of his failures, fears to the forefront, right?
Yeah.
At some point, if you listen to somebody's story, you're like, I was that person, or I am that person, and I need help. That's really what it was meant to do: was take down, demystify all the things that people are outside thinking like it can't be done, to showing them that it can be done, and that these people are doing it, right? Because I have people from all walks of life coming on the show, and it's beautiful. I have my wife on there. We had people from my church last week
Hey.
that have businesses. We're bringing on I mean, I invite a lot of people, and I want to have you on there,
And I
right?
will definitely go on. You let me know when after this. I am totally down.
It's fun. Fun. It goes very quick. I think you get a lot out of it. And those listening out there, that's the idea is that we're always learning, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Use our histories and our stories to help you elevate yourself and elevate your mind.
Where can people go to listen to your podcast?
So I'm on all the channels. What is that? The Apple, Spotify,
Mhm.
YouTube. At Rios Business Funding is my YouTube channel. You look up Rios Business Funding. I'm on Instagram as Rios Business Advisors, Facebook, TikTok. I'm on everything, right? So you'll find me. If you even do a Google search for eye level to high level,
Mhm.
you're going to see all the links come up for our programs and everything that we're doing. It's becoming a movement. I mean, they videotaped us in September through Rudy Maurer and Insight Success. So that'll be streaming very soon on one of your local streaming channels. And that tells a story, right? The Jimmy Rios I Love at a High Level story. And it's a movement, right? We trademarked I Love at a High Level because it's a program that's changing lives,
Yeah.
right? It's not just, helping somebody with the burden of debt and elevating themselves to another echelon. It's, it's solving for people's problems. It's helping them find these solutions that they didn't have before that now they do. And it takes away a lot of the barriers of entry into living a better life,
Yeah.
which is what we all want to do, and building legacies. So, I'm just I'm just a servant of God. I'm using His talents to all the talents given that were given by Him to do the best to help others. That's it. There's no accolades for me because I live now very humbly. I love to live a good life, and I travel. I give back, and I try to do his best to do the right thing every day. Um, for that day, I focus on a daily mode because I can't do anything about the past and
Right.
I can't do anything about the future. So I focus on right now, the here and now, and I do the best. Compounding is a very big component of what we do
Mhm.
with compound interest. But when you start compounding in your life with everything that you do, love, relationships, family, spirituality, health, all that stuff compounds to help you get to a better and a higher spot, even if it's just day by day, one little bit. So we compound and we keep working and we keep doing things and we build communities and we build tribes to do the same thing, right? It becomes a movement, like the pay it forward movement, right?
Yeah.
That's no joke. That is true. But the law of attraction is also a law for its reason. So why can't we do the same, right? This is going to be heard. Somebody's going to tell somebody, so you need to talk to Jimmy. And all I'm going to do is partake in the experience with them so they can do that.
Absolutely. And it's gotta be gratifying to be able to help people every day. I know you gotta
Beautiful.
love it.
It is. And that's when people say, well, how do you do what you do with a smile? I said, you know, the reality is that there's always going to be trouble and problems out there, but I don't have time for that. Right. So, not saying that you have to be oblivious to a problem, and not saying you're not going to cry and have those feelings of anger and whatever, but it's how my perspective is on dealing with the problem. Right. So, if I choose to take on this problem and say, it sucks, but I'm going to figure it out, right? I'm going to find a way to fix this problem. Then my day's better because now I just maybe had to call a few people, and by talking to them, they start giving me advice on how to fix a problem. All of a sudden, that problem is not a problem,
It's a
right?
small move.
It's small.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, that perspective came from being homeless, from being in jail, from seeing all the dark. I said, well, when you go through the dark to the light, you have a contrast. And when you see the light, that dark, like anything that comes inside of that world, if it's not excessive, like where I can see it dark again, then it's not a problem. right? It's basically a solution waiting to be found, right? So if you're telling me you got a problem and it doesn't compare to what I've been through, then you're not there. Now, there's been people that have come to me with dark, ugly scenarios, and we've been able to get them through that because they were willing, open, and honest about finding a solution, right? So it still doesn't matter how dark a situation it is. We're gonna make it better.
Yeah.
It just takes time, and I can't tell people, look, it's gonna get done in 1 month. It might take 6 months. It might take a year.
Yeah.
But you're gonna be better tomorrow than you are today, just knowing you have somebody in your corner, right?
Absolutely. So true. Look at that Jimmyism coming back out.
Yeah, Jimmy is a
Now we're going to switch gears. The next segment is called Uncomfortable Questions. And during this segment, I'll ask you either or questions, but you have to choose one of them and then explain why you chose it. Are you ready?
Sure.
Credit or cash?
Credit.
Why?
So credit gives you leverage. Credit gives you the ability to make choices on your time. Cash doesn't. If you have it, great. If you don't, what are you gonna do? Right? Like you can't do it. Right? So credit gives you a lot more spectrum of a rubber band to stretch and to be able to help you do more things over time. That's a very simplistic look at it, but it's why we do what we do. Properly managed, though, is how you got to do it.
Okay. Mortgage or rent?
Mortgage. So there's arguments said that if you rent, it's easy and you can move quicker. But if you buy, you have a couple things. You have appreciation and you have depreciation. You have an asset that can be worked for you. If you have equity, you can put the equity as credit to work as leverage for you. So now that equity, instead of sitting there as dead money, is now alive and working for you, and you can pay off your house sooner by being able to work the powers of leverage in your favor through an asset. You can't get that renting. You give it away, and others are reaping the benefits of your hard-earned money.
That makes sense. Owning a business or just being the president of a corporate business?
President of a corporate business gives you ego, but owning a business gives you freedom. So you want to own your business. Jimmyism.
For sure. Cars or SUVs?
I got both, but I lean towards my SUV for the fact that I have dogs, I have kids, I need flexibility. Now we're talking about getting a hybrid so I can get the benefit that I get from my car as gas saving. So I'm definitely leaning towards SUVs was when I go to the beach and I have the ability to get more on more terrain. SUV gives me more options.
Okay. I'm gonna say I prefer cars, but I'm
Sure.
biased.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I got both, and I definitely prefer, to use the car in some situations over others too.
West Coast or East Coast?
That's a good one. So I guess because I am somewhat divided, and I live on the west, but um, I love being in Miami too, and I love and I love going to New York. So I by being on the west, I'm gonna say west, but my it's very that's a very tough one, almost split. I mean, we've gone to Miami this year like 4 times.
Okay. You know what's crazy? I've traveled all around the world and I've only been to Miami through flying. That's it. I've never truly been to Miami ever.
It's almost like the best of both worlds. You get a lot of the culture from like a lot of
Like
Latin
Cuba?
American countries and stuff. Colombia and Puerto Rico and Dominicans and Haitians. And
Yeah.
you get all of this melting pot like you do in New York. But you're in a very beautiful city. It's got a lot of pluses.
I'm gonna go one year. I really am. I don't know why I have
Do it.
never been. I don't know.
Go to Fort Lauderdale, go to South Beach, go to
Yeah.
there's a lot of really, really cool things. And like we just took a trip out there and took a ferry out to the Bahamas the other day.
Nice.
It was fun. It was like so much. Went in the morning,
Hmm.
spent the whole day in the Bahamas, and then came back in the evening.
That's
So
awesome. Yeah, I probably do need to go check that out then. And for my
totally.
final question, for this segment, trade or
Great question. I'm going to say trade. I'll tell you why. Um, so with a trade, you're going to find yourself working on something that can be used over time. Now, college does as well, but with trades, you can go into entrepreneurship and build on that, right? Build and help others with that trade, right? College, it, it very specialized in some areas that will make you successful, but will leave you feeling like you're still in the quadrant of being a W-2 employee, right? So the educational system is not set up to teach the, the foundations that I teach with regards to entrepreneurship and owning your business. Dentists, doctors, lawyers come to me to structure their firms because they're good technicians in what they do that they learned from school, but they have $200,000 in debt because of college. So now they're upside down. They don't know what to do because they never learned the what I teach on this side. It really doesn't matter if you're a trade or a college educated person. You're going to have to learn some financial education and literacy to really start learning how to use either the trade or the college to your advantage. But with trades, you don't have, many times you don't come out of the gate with that much debt, right? When you go to a trade school and you learn something. With college, you did, me included, right? So I came out with over $100,000 in debt,
I'm a
and so
special case.
it's,
I'm a
yeah.
veteran. I'm a Marine. I use my GI Bill. Well, post 9/11 GI Bill.
Wow.
So
Thank you
I
very
didn't
much.
have any debt, and I got my.
Thank you for your
Oh, my
service.
pleasure. My
One,
pleasure. Yeah.
and two, you did it right
Thank you.
because ultimately, what I'm trying to teach my kids is, because whether they take the college route or the trade route, they're gonna come into the crux of the road where they're gonna have to decide about debt and how they're gonna go about doing it.
Hmm.
So there's nothing wrong with debt if you know how to use debt to your advantage. If you're gonna use debt to get a degree, we need to figure out how to get rid of the debt in a short period of time so that you're not burdened by debt, right? That
Right.
goes again to my circle where we talk about alleviating the burden of debt, right? And that doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, whether you're college or trade, you're going to come into debt at some point, even when you buy your house, even when you buy your car, all these other things, you're going to get debt. So let's learn about that, let's not be afraid to learn about debt, and how it can be good versus bad.
Absolutely. So true. And the final segment is called Rants with Sharryse. And this is my favorite segment. During this segment, I'll ask you to share a rant, and it can be about anything. I mean, it could be about people not bathing, people not using deodorant, like finances, whatever. But after you share your rant, you have to give us the solution. So the floor is
Okay,
yours.
let me hold on. I think I had some notes on this. Hold on, let me pull up my
Go
notes on
ahead. You
this.
take your time. You take your time. Sometimes, some people they have more than one rant. Some people like to give two rants, but most people are always like they're like, "Hold on, Sharryse, I need to let me get it together first because I got something to say today."
See this. Give me 1 second. Okay, yeah. So people say they want to change their life, but won't change their habits. You can't complain about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do.
Fact.
That's one of my
It's
rants.
called discipline. People don't want to do.
I said, what's the solution? I commit, take one step every day. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent.
That's so true. That's so true. It's you can apply that to anything in life. Eating,
And,
eating right,
and
all of it.
well, I mean, I'll be honest. I suffer from diabetes
Mm.
type 2. So I have to put a shot of insulin when my numbers go up, right? If I'm not watching myself.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been times where I go on trips and I know I need to stay on track with my diabetes because if I don't, I'll get sick and I could die. Start losing limbs and eyesight and all these negative things. But if I do the work in staying on track, right, and being able to exercise and eat right, I'm going to live one more day, right?
Absolutely.
A little better. Living daily with the control of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's something where my pancreas isn't producing enough insulin. So if I go and eat a slice of cake, it's gonna shoot up really quick, right? Where somebody else, their pancreas just kicks in and starts emitting insulin and manages that. Well, I don't have that advantage, so I have to make sure that if I'm going to do something, that I'm thinking through that
Right.
decision and making the proper moves. Right? Not to say that I'm perfect with it, but if I'm consistent with it, then it becomes manageable because my highs and my lows start leveling out. And the idea behind this is to find consistency over time, right? So
Absolutely.
I use it in my health. I use it in everything I do is, kind of in that adage, even with my relationship with my wife and communication and fighting over or solving problems together as if we're fighting about something. It will apply to every part of your life.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. That was a great rant. Before you go, can you please share your social media with us and where everyone can find
Sure.
you so they can get some help? Because I feel like you're going to get a lot of people from this.
No, this is great. So yeah, on YouTube, you're gonna find us at Rios Business Funding. Um, TikTok and Instagram, it'll be at Rios Business Advisors. Um, X, it'll be under Rios Biz Funding, BIZ. Um, and our website, riosbusinessfunding.com and riosbusinessadvisors.com.
Thank you so much for sharing all these wonderful gems. It was a pleasure having you on. I can't wait to have you
It's great.
return for the next season.
That'd be awesome, and I'd love to have you on my show. We'll definitely, I'll send you a calendar so we can schedule that, and it'll be fun. We'll have just as much fun, but the 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 hat will be on your side.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited. I'm down for it. Thank you for the opportunity too. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And thank you for listening to Connect Like Mind.
Talk to you.